we can't shame her for it.
No, I am going to shame her.
No, we aren't.
Because I did tell her to stop touching things.
Okay, that's shameful.
And she kept touching things. So I hope she's listening because now Mama's told
no more
everyone,
touching art.
no more touching art. And I think the security guard did follow us around quite closely.
You're getting lots of troubles in museums.
I call them parachuting curators who just kind of parachute into the UAE, get given whatever it is, all the perks that they get given. They're like, oh, wow, look, it's great. In the Arabian sands, they're all, they're all,
Get some camels in, guys.
They're artists and it's, wow, how fascinating. Why is it fascinating?
Parachuting curators and patronising curators.
Is it,
What a jam-packed show. And
Look up from your phone, man.
Yeah, sorry. Just trying to prepare myself for you guys so I don't get, any names or dates wrong because it's very important to be detail-orientated.
Oh,
yeah.
I got told. You got told.
He's here.
Man's
He's
here.
taking it seriously.
So I want to tell you all about the amazing exhibition that I saw over the weekend. We're also going to be speaking to Emirati art curator Munira Al Sayegh, who will be joining us here in the studio.
We're going to be chatting about Canadian comedian Russell Peters. We've got a lot to talk about The Crown, the new Netflix series, and also we've got our man about town in the studio.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm Enas Refaei.
And I'm Farah Andrews.
And you are listening to Culture Bites all the way from the National here in Abu Dhabi.
Right, much to talk about.
So this weekend, I took the children, popped them in the car, and we went on a family outing.
Family school trip.
Family school trip to an art space in Abu Dhabi. I'm trying to get them doing more of that kind of stuff. Now the weather's got a bit kinder.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that now we can go and explore these things.
We're out and about.
We're out and about a bit more. So we went to go and see Solid Void, which is an exhibition being put on at the space 421.
Right.
Is it 421?
I believe so, yeah.
I'm always saying the name wrong.
41 Art Campus, right?
Yes, the 41 Art Campus. And it's Asma Belhamar. And she is a UAE artist who has been actually kind of looking into what space means in the UAE. And kind of she reflects a lot of the architecture that you see. Now, me and my daughter had a long conversation, bearing in mind my daughter is 7, but I like to open up her mind to these things. So Dahlia, I know you're listening. She always does.
Hi, Dahlia.
She's one of our big fans. But she really liked, so there's a few big standout pieces in this exhibition space. One is a kind of beautiful wood carving, which goes across all of one wall and kind of wraps itself around the space. And what's lovely about it is you kind of feel like there's movement in something, even though it's quite static.
Right.
And we were talking about it and we realised it's kind of like looking at a building from a moving car.
Wow.
So it's kind of speeds up and slows down. And that's kind of what she's trying to express a bit in her work, is this kind of a lot of the architecture in the UAE you're looking at from a car.
Speeding past it.
And you're speeding past it and you're stopping
Not
at a traffic
speeding.
light.
You're driving within the safe limits of the speed limit past any buildings in the UAE.
Within the space. But we both really liked that piece. But my daughter said she preferred another piece.
So when you take the girls to art galleries and art spaces, do you both kind of go in with do you come out with different favourites?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Different approaches to things.
So I am going to, my youngest, who is 4, Ada.
We can't shame her for it.
No, I am going to shame her.
No, we aren't.
Because I did tell her to stop touching things.
Okay, that's shameful.
And she kept touching things. So I hope she's listening because now Mama's told
no more
everyone,
touching art.
No more touching art. And I think the security guard did follow us around quite closely.
You're getting lots of troubles in museums.
I'm really sorry, Asma, if my daughter did touch your piece. But yeah, really lovely artwork. But yeah, Dahlia preferred a piece which was kind of all these little bricks which had different engravings on and different bits pulled together, and they were kind of wrapped together in this central piece of the room. And it we felt like it very much symbolized as well the fabric of the UAE life, about how we all come together. We're all a little bit individual, but we've all come together in one space.
Right, okay.
And that's what Dahlia liked the most, which I thought was really profound for a 7-year-old.
big takeaways there from Dalia. I love that.
It's just my daughter.
She's one of the finest art critics I know.
But like, we also really enjoyed the fact that the artist just teamed it up with music from Emirati singers. So as you're in this space, and it conjured up this feeling of when I was sat in my dad's car. You know, I'm listening to Emirati music or Arabic music, and I'm looking at these like very, very moving pieces. Like they feel like they have movement. Even like her drawings and there's more framed work, but everything feels like it has some sort of movement, which was really lovely.
It is amazing how pieces can just like spark these big memories or like almost like transport you back so you feel like you're in a completely different space. I love that.
Yeah, it's really good. So definitely go and check it out. It's an exhibition by Asma Belhamar at 421 Art Campus in Abu Dhabi.
And that's, people can go still see it. It's running until
31st of December.
You've got a while, guys. You've got time. You've got time. Should we talk about some news? Some things that have been in the news this week?
Yeah, so something caught your eye in the news this week.
Yes.
And it's quite a huge name, Russell Peters.
Russell Peters. So, Russell Peters, big name, massive comedian, very, very popular. Super funny guy, obviously, comedian. But he's here a lot. He does come to the UAE quite a lot. Since I've been working at National, we've definitely had like 3 or 4 Russell Peters gigs in the UAE. He performed the very first concert. No, it's not concert. Very first gig at the Coca-Cola Arena in Dubai. He opened it up. So it's Russell Peters and then Maroon 5.
He loves it here.
He's here all the time.
He's like me.
So he had a comedy show lined up for next week, and there was he started cancelling a lot of his Middle Eastern tour dates, and also some tour dates in Africa. And I think there was quite a big conversation of whether or not his gig here was going to be cancelled. But he has been on Instagram and he has spoken about the fact that no, he is going to still be performing here in Abu Dhabi next week. It's on November 23rd, his gig, which I believe is a week today.
Yes.
Right, good. Calendar, thank you. And yeah, so he is, so he's coming, he is still putting on his show here in Abu Dhabi. He's filming a new comedy special, but he's been quite honest about his conflicting feelings about still having the show.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, as we've discussed for the last month, we've all been feeling a bit like, sad.
Yeah, there's a lot of sadness, and there's also a kind of like, oh, is this tone deaf? Like, what are we? So he's spoken about, he went on Instagram, kind of video speaking to camera, and he said that he is still going to have his show here. This is a quote. So, I'm aware of the optics on this one. I've pulled the rest of my Middle East tour for now. Let me be honest with you. I've struggled with this, but ultimately I feel like one thing we need in this region is some smiles, love and laughter, and I hope to be the guy that provides some of that relief. So he spoke quite candidly about Gaza, and he spoke about the fact that he knows that maybe it's there was going to be a kind of like allegations of like, oh, what are you doing? Like comedy show now, it feels it's jarring. It is jarring. And a lot of people do feel kind of, there's like...
A lot of people are struggling.
Yeah.
And I think like it's an important conversation to have. And, I can imagine for him, it's one that he has to have as a comedian. Yeah. It must be even more difficult when you're asked to make people smile and laugh all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So fair play to him. I'm really impressed that he's done that.
And kind of tackling it head on, and kind of, I guess, like elephant in the room is like, I'm not ignoring this is happening. That is not where I am. So yeah, massive respect to Russell Peters.
So well done. Yeah, well done, Russell Peters. We'll see you then next week.
Yes.
Shame we can't get him on the podcast.
Can we?
Can we? Let's give him a shout out. Russell, if you're listening.
Come on down.
Come on.
Let's chew the fat.
So another big thing that's happening, which is going to be coming to our screens, is The Crown.
It's back.
It's back. And this is the final season. Like, this is the end.
It takes us up to season 6 is where we are. It's been going on for a long time, The Crown.
Yeah, it is. And I have to admit, like, I'm not a huge, like, I don't watch it. But this season is kind of like, it's living memory for me. It's living memory for a lot of people. Yeah. And I feel like this season's going to be something that we're all going to be really interested to see, because there's a huge Middle Eastern character. There's
huge Middle Eastern character. We've got the kind of, so I watched the first 2 seasons of The Crown, I think, and it wasn't a conscious decision to turn it off. there is just so much TV. I'm only one person, and I try and watch as much of it as I can. But so like you said,
I watch a lot of Paw Patrol, so
that does keep you quite busy. I'm also currently watching a lot of reruns of Seinfeld, so that and that is keeping me quite busy. This is so living history. Everything that we're going to be seeing now is like, this series is the 90s. So it's no longer the kind of, when it started, the whole show has been about basically Queen Elizabeth's life, right?
Yeah.
So we started with things that were very archival. We started with the kind of recreations of things that people hadn't seen. And they were there was a lot of filling in the gaps by the script writers and the producers. And there was kind of like bringing to life parts of history that we didn't have a real clear visual on. As the timeline has progressed, we've kind of got into the kind of Charles and Diana era. They've in the past series, they're kind of like the separation, and then we've kind of had these characters that are such kind of carbon copies of the people that we remember seeing in photographs from when we were younger.
I think this is it. I think it was a really big thing. I think everybody loved Princess Diana, and my family were part of that. And then when she started dating Dodi Al Fayed, I think that was a big part of my childhood. I remember was that Princess Diana was dating an Arab guy. And that was big news.
Very big news.
Yeah, all the Arabs in London were talking about it. And I think that this is where the Crown has really tried to make sure that they're being really culturally appropriate and accurate. So I've heard that they've actually managed to get filmmakers from the Arab region to take part in this process,
That's
but
brilliant.
also to make sure that the accent's right. So Dodi is Egyptian.
Yes.
So that's a very different accent to, say, a Levantine accent or a Gulf accent. So I think often when we're watching things on, from the 2000s, whenever anybody had an Arabic character, they'd often, they'd all just kind of, it's never matched.
Right.
Their accents never matched with where they were meant to
You've
be.
got 4 family members. Everyone's got a different accent. It's what is happening?
Yeah, it's I thought they were from Syria. Why do they sound Moroccan?
Right.
It's always been a bit confusing. So it's just kind of always been seen as an afterthought, whereas actually the Crown has taken this really seriously. They have decided to employ Arab actors who can speak in Arabic. So I'm quite excited to see that now.
So we have the right accents, the right dialects coming through.
Yes.
Right.
And people who are actually from the region playing people of the region.
Yeah, exactly. It's so
Not just an Indian actor.
Yeah, it's not just nothing's just being filled. It's no stock anything.
But yeah, I'm really excited about seeing it because it'll be a good chance for me to look back as well at my own a history that I remember.
The thing this is a bit marketing, so props to Netflix on this, but there are so many very famous photographs of Princess Diana particularly, but members of the royal family in general from that period of time. And they've kind of got those very famous images and they've just recreated them perfectly. And they're the kind of there's the image of Princess Diana sitting kind of wistfully looking out on a yacht that we can all remember that photo right now. And then those images are being used in the marketing for this show.
The revenge dress.
The fashion.
So Diana was an icon.
Yeah. The show has been so good at when there have been famous moments, they have recreated those outfits bead for bead. It is perfect. And that's I'm very much looking forward to the revenge dress. I'm looking forward to the big Princess Diana's big jumpers and cycling shorts era because that's one that I live in myself.
It's all coming back. Yeah, it's all coming back.
So.
So I think if you are interested in 90s fashion, definitely check out The Crown.
Yes, I probably actually will.
Hello. And I want to introduce my new friend.
Hi.
To my older friend.
Hello.
So Munira is here and she's going to be talking to us about all of the fantastic work that she does in the UAE. And I actually know her from university. So hi, Munira.
Hi. It's great to be here.
It's so nice to have you. And you're from Abu Dhabi.
Correct. Yep.
And you do so much in this. I mean, you've just been telling us about how busy you are. Give us a rundown. Can you run us through what is going on in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. We are leading up next week to Abu Dhabi Art. And so there's a lot going on, a lot of happenings. just the whole city kind of comes to life. The cultural activations just take place at a high during November, just kind of pairing up with the fair. Not to say that cultural activities aren't taking place all year round, but during November, there's definitely a special kind of vibe to the city.
There is a lot happening everywhere.
Absolutely.
We're really struggling to keep up with everything that is happening. And I think when I first moved to Abu Dhabi, so I was really excited to spend more time with Munira, but, life gets in the way and I've barely seen you. So I took this opportunity to get you on the podcast and actually sit down with you and have a conversation because it's been so long.
Can you take us back? So you said you went to university together. Did you do the same course? Did you study together, or was it a social circle situation?
It was definitely a social circle situation.
Right.
Did you do development studies?
No, I studied art history.
She studied it.
Of course she did.
See?
Yeah.
She did art history and that's why she's working in the art space.
Yeah.
Unlike me. Who's just here to blag her way through it.
It's art. You're still what you're doing is an art.
But you must have then, just going back to you growing up here in Abu Dhabi and how the art, has played such an integral role in shaping the modern Abu Dhabi and the modern UAE that we see. Have you seen that transformation for yourself, but you've also been part of it? Has it been quite exciting?
Absolutely. I mean, exciting would be the word to reflect on what's going on in the UAE in general, let alone Abu Dhabi. I think it's really interesting because I left the UAE. I was always interested in the arts. I grew up with my mother, who just kind of always pointed me towards arts and culture and just beautiful things and explaining to me why they're important. And, so that dialogue really started at a very young age for me. I went to the American school here, the American community school. And I was the only Emirati for miles ahead and miles behind. And there's a lot of misconceptions that I was fed. Funnily enough, as an Emirati, you're still fed those same misconceptions. And, within the art class, I was always told art is the only Arabic art is calligraphy, or really kind of
geometric patterns.
Exactly, just really simplified and very dismissive, I would say. And then I moved to London, funnily enough, and I ended up at SOAS, and it's a definite shout out. I ended up at SOAS. I started art history and archaeology at SOAS, and suddenly the whole world was just so much richer and denser than what I was ever taught at school.
I think that's so true. And I think that comes through with storytelling as well. I think about often that we are living history now, right? So we've always got to be reflecting on things that are happening now. And there's so much power in the now. And I think that's where the contemporary space really comes into its own.
For sure. And so then, can you tell us, so you're founder of the Dirwaza Curatorial Lab. So can you tell us a little bit about it. Tell us about the vision, how you work.
Absolutely. It's a very creative space. It's a space that came out after a lot of trial and error. I initially moved back to the UAE, and I worked at NYU. I still was trying to figure out this space of curating. Everybody who asked me how did you start curating? It fell into my lap. I don't know how. It just happened very gradually. I am a storyteller by nature. And so then it's curating and storytelling via visuals, And so just two things that I really enjoy. And I just kind of fell into it. I don't know I don't know that a specific moment that, that became really clear to me outside of my first exhibition. But how that lead up took place, I'm really quite not sure.
I think when you see those artists like him standing next to Andy Warhol, and
or
you
Madonna,
then you suddenly realize that actually it is about a community of people, and it's the same happens with writing. And I think here in the UAE, we're just witnessing. Well, we are witnessing for quite some time now that is happening here. Do you think that is now transcending into the international community? Are they starting to take more and more note of what's happening here?
I think so. I think that finally, that the narrative is being reclaimed by people that are locally based, or people that are Emirati citizens, like, and I don't separate the two. I think the moment that you are participating actively in the culture scene here, you are a part of that narrative. This is the reality. Look around, like we're still sitting around this table, and
we're part of it.
Where everybody is.
It's life.
It is. I mean, it is. It is a reflection of the reality, and we have to kind of really embrace that and highlight it. I think for a very long time, there's been people talking about the region and talking on behalf of the region without, like, it's like there's a term that I always use. It's not a coined term or a real term, but I call them parachuting curators, who just kind of parachute into the UAE, get given like, whatever it is, all the perks that they get given. They're like, oh wow, look, it's great. In the Arabian sands, they're all, they're all,
get some camels in, guys.
They're all artists, and it's wow, how fascinating. Why is it fascinating? Why is it fascinating that there are artists? There have been artists for centuries. They've been artists here. Why is it fascinating? And so they come in, they give you this.
Parachuting curators and patronizing curators.
It's frustrating. It's really, especially working within the field, it's really frustrating because they come in with their branded names, and they come in and they speak on behalf of these artists. They barely do their research. They barely give them the time, and then they leave. And so you now have like narratives that are not fully studied or even respected or considered. You know what I mean? Like
probably a lot of blank spaces in between. Yeah.
Like just half-cooked spaces. So with all of this frustration and thinking and just my head in a million places, as per usual, I decided to leave my final 9 to 5, and I decided, I was like, and after the Basquiat show, I decided, okay, like I am going to dedicate everything that is me to everything that I believe in, which is sort of this like grassroots space, and I'm going to participate in attempting to reclaim the narrative.
So it's definitely a family then that's like pulled together in Dirwaza.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it is the reality of sort of collaboration that makes, teamwork makes the dream work, right? That's the idea. It's
there's 1,000 people in this room right now making this happen.
It's the reality, you know, and so for me, basically, Dirwaza has two legs. I would say there's a creative sort of agency, curatorial agency. There's a space where we're actively making, we're actively creating, and then there's the thinking space, which is equally as important, where we interrogate questions or bring up questions that we have and really begin to ask, what does this actually mean? It's like,
and I work for you. I'm asking questions all the time.
Yeah. Questions are good. You might not always get answers, but it's the idea is that that we really bring this up. It's like for example, the role of language is extremely important. So it's like if language is a reflection of culture, it's interesting that today culture is spoken about in English as opposed to Arabic. So it's like what happens is you write your text in English, and then it gets translated into Arabic, and then they put the Arabic before the English to kind of reconcile with that guilt. You know what I mean? And so you begin to have this just a lot of questions that really need to be amplified, around culture that are perhaps like maybe it is nitpicking, but it's important. There are kinks that really need to be ironed out.
Do you think I have this because I have two languages sometimes in my head. I think I'm genuinely funnier in Arabic than I am in English. I mean, I know the people.
She's making excuses for the podcast.
But like sometimes,
honestly, if this was in Arabic,
I would be so funny.
This would land.
But like when you must have the same though, that there must be some things that come to you as a question in Arabic, and then do you translate it to English, or do some things come to you in English and then you feel like you find it difficult to say in Arabic?
I think it's interesting, my relationship with language. I grew up speaking Arabic at home, and so it is my emotional language. like the language.
It's so much more emotional.
100%. It's like the language of love, the language of like generosity. It is like the home language. It's like the language of the heart, you know.
Yeah.
And then the language of the mind is English, because I've been like taught constantly in between the American Community School and then going to SOAS and then being in New York and kind of really critically analyzing things. It was all in English. It was never done in Arabic. So it becomes difficult for me to have that sort of critical lens or whatever in Arabic, although I made it a point almost like 4 years ago to start taking Arabic classes again.
Oh my goodness, I need to do that.
And once I did, I was like, oh, all it is it's just a switch.
It's just practicing.
You know,
Yeah.
and so once I was able to get that switch back up and running, I became more comfortable and more confident in everything that I was doing. But it took effort for me to get back into a place where both languages kind of can exist at the same weight. Yeah.
So I'm really aware of time, and I really want to speak to you about your work for MS and like how that came about.
So just to kind of rephrase that, I was actually in Basel for the last exhibition that I had, Evaporating Suns, through Dirwaza Curatorial Lab. It was 3 years of work. I really started to think a lot about, you know, the role of art, what art is meant to do, how we're meant to kind of utilize art as a tool, basically. And so I decided that I was following the MS Society's Instagram page, and I decided, you know, I'm going to come back home and I'm going to get in touch with these guys, and I'm going to tell them, you know, if there's anything that they might need from me, that I am ready to just kind of give you my time and my space and the whole team, etc. SubhanAllah, I get back home and I get a message from Maral, who works for the society. And she's like, Munira, we're working towards Abu Dhabi Art. And we want to have basically a booth, and we want to work with an artist. We want to commission an artist to talk about the reality of MS. If, you know, the artist can be an individual that has MS or is, you know, understands the reality of MS, that would be great. So basically what we ended up doing was we put together an open call. We got a few proposals sent back to us, and now towards the end we decided to go with the artist that we're working with right now, who her name is Maitha Al Omaira.
She Emirati.
She's an Emirati artist, and she's sort of like kickstarting her career now. Graduated from university, was a part of the SEEF program, which is a fellowship program that's done by the Sheikh Salama Foundation, and so I really enjoy her work. I really enjoy the conversations that she has, and she basically looks at the role of sort of the extension of the body back to the land and vice versa. So the prompt that we put up, we had to also put up a prompt like within Dirwaza for the open call that could make sense artistically, you know, because you can't just be like, oh, let's talk about MS,
about multiple sclerosis.
you know, you know, and it's a big thing. It's a huge reality within the UAE. There are increasing numbers of individuals with MS, and obviously with it comes a lot of sort of social, just kind of like ideas that need to be broken or you know, taken away. We need to move away from it. We need to start looking at things more positively without being dismissive, but being honest and kind of really highlighting that reality. And so obviously with MS, it's a disease that affects your nervous system, and so the nervous system is a really interesting thing that can become highly conceptual. You know, it's this one thing that's connected from your toe all the way up to your head, and it controls the way your body functions. It controls the way you move. It controls the way you speak. It controls everything. You know, your eyesight and everything that comes along with it. So basically, we began to kind of question this idea and started to really kind of comb through comb through what MS is, and then we created this proposal basically, or we added to the open call where we asked the artist to react to something that is relevant or reminiscent of the nervous system, and understanding this idea of control and being controlled also, and so
That's so deep.
100%. I mean, it's you can have a disease come in and it can really take over your life when you're when you're told if you have this disease or any other disease, it's overwhelming and it's really terrifying. And so the idea was, now how do we take control of it? How do we really highlight that? How do we allow art to become a tool that allows for this conversation to take place in honesty, in transparency.
Raise awareness. And I think art's been used so many times as well to raise awareness over diseases and different people's, Frida Kahlo comes to mind when people even working through their own
realities,
their own
physical realities. Yeah.
So this has been something that's really passionate, and you're clearly really passionate about. And how has it been going? Have you raised awareness?
It's so far, amazing. We have yet to kind of really publicly talk about it. The idea of the podcast today via them was to talk about this a lot and to really highlight their participation within Abu Dhabi Art.
So at Abu Dhabi Art, are people going to be able to interact with and
explore the artwork, and then through it explore the realities of MS. So through the MS Society here in Abu Dhabi, basically their goal is to really highlight this reality, also normalize this reality to a space where you can have open-ended conversations, and ask questions and be vulnerable, and really kind of have a place. If you have MS, or if you know somebody with MS, it is a space of community, going back and looping back around to that, where people come together and are really just telling their story. And so for us at Abu Dhabi Art, inshallah, we're going to have the work by Maitha Al Omaira, commissioned by the MS Society, curated by Dirwaza Curatorial Lab, and our volunteers that are going to be coming from the MS Society. They're going to be talking about their realities and shedding their realities and reflecting on their realities through the artwork that's presented. So it's just sometimes, you give somebody a tool, anybody a tool, and art is a tool of communication.
Amazing. That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for telling us about that. I think there's a lot to learn for me and for everybody else. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing.
It's been fantastic.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a jam-packed show. And
Look up from your phone, man.
Yeah, sorry. Just trying to prepare myself for you guys so I don't get any names or dates wrong, because it's very important to be detail-orientated.
Oh,
yeah.
I got told. You got told.
He's here.
Man's
He's
here.
taking it seriously.
To tell us what is going on in the UAE and what we should not miss.
Hi, there's so much going on right now. You will miss something, but I'm letting you guys know about what you should not miss, if that makes sense.
It doesn't, but
it doesn't.
It works.
But let's pretend it does. So first on the list is Manara Abu Dhabi. So this is so
big.
Cool. It's big. It's huge.
I feel like we've been talking about this for so long.
Yes,
it's
we
really
have.
built up in my head, and now it's real. It's here. It's happening.
It's actually
so
happening.
I have to
tell
admit,
us what it is.
As a new person to the UAE, I am quite excited. By now I can actually visualize it because there's visuals everywhere.
Yes, there's visuals everywhere.
Because before when you were saying it, I was like, okay.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So basically, Manara Abu Dhabi is a light exhibition that's happening all across Abu Dhabi. And Manar, for those of you who don't know, means lighthouse in Arabic. So it is an exhibition of light sculptures or works of art made from light by over 35 artists who are from the region, from the UAE, and from across the world. Now, light art is a very specific kind of art, and as well, doing light art outdoors is even more niche. And so the collection of artists, they are some of them are incredibly well-known Arab artists, like you have, I don't want to get the names wrong, Samia Halabi, who is a really well-known Palestinian artist, and Muhammad Qazim, who is a really well-known UAE artist. And they've created amazing light sculptures and projections all across Abu Dhabi. So like in the Corniche, in the islands like Lulu Island. I don't know some of these islands or some of these locations in Abu Dhabi.
Islands, yeah.
There's so many that a lot of people, I think, are not aware of them. So this is a great way to experience Abu Dhabi in a new way and see the work.
Sorry. How do people experience it? Are they, so a lot of, how like if we are just telling like people out there, how are they going to see this? Is it just like there's somebody on it when they're out and about? Is there a boat? Are there boardwalks?
There are, well, first of all, really important, it's free. So that's great. So you can have a walk on the Corniche and you can see some of the artwork there. There are boat rides. There's stuff happening in Abu Dhabi, and you can go like basically island hopping from all of these different islands. And I also want to preface that you really cannot do all of this in one night. Like I said, there's over 35 artworks across so many islands. So you can probably plan a family outing or with your friends across from now until the end of Jan. You know, every other weekend you can come to Abu Dhabi.
I feel terrible. I've asked for photos of it. So this is like a 3-week endeavor for our photo team.
Yeah, basically.
It's not going to happen.
So it's a cool way to engage with public art. And it's just, if you go on our website and you go on the article we wrote about it, where I interviewed the co-curators, you see some of the visuals. It's really, really stunning work, and great way to get to know the city in a different way.
And super large scale. Like they are not
huge. Yeah, huge.
No singular light bulbs here.
Love that.
So that's what's happening in Abu Dhabi. In Dubai, there is Al Sarkal Avenue's Lates, which is happening on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So that is basically all the art galleries, or most of them, starting new shows that would have opened over the last week or two. So there's a couple of shows I want to highlight that I got to see that are really cool. So I spoke last week about The Third Line, which has a really great collaboration between two artists. I went and saw the full show, and I spoke to the artist. It's really, really beautiful. You guys have to check it out. It's called Duality. There is another show by Green Art, which is called Give Your Weight to the Ground, by an Emirati artist called Afra Al-Dhahiri, and she creates paintings and sculptures based on the symbolic concept of hair, which is really interesting.
That's very... Well, you know, me and my hair.
Well,
Yeah.
Anyone who's listening to this on Spotify
has a photo of Enas' hair.
It's a big part of my personality.
Well, I mean, hair has a lot of symbolic meaning in lots of different cultures, right? Like in parts of the Middle East, and even in New Zealand, which is where I grew up. Like if you cut your hair symbolically, you need to bury it in the ground, so that because people take your hair and they can sort of do stuff with it. So it's kind of better to bury your hair. So she kind of
a superstitious thing.
Superstitious thing, yeah. So she looks at these kind of concepts and then reinterprets them in her paintings and sculptures. It's really fascinating. There is a really amazing show in Carbon 12 called The Black Flags of Medea. So this is by Philip Mueller. He's an Austrian artist, and he sort of creates these big paintings that are influenced by the German Romantic period. So imagine these very big, very detailed paintings with lots of like symbolism and really wonderful use of light. So that's a really cool exhibition to see. And Ayyam Gallery is doing an exhibition called Faces of Resilience by Roshnak Amnelihai. I hope I said that right. And she is a very detailed painter who does these amazing sort of pattern paintings. And the faces are, the exhibition is about women who have been resilient in culture. So everyone from Frida Kahlo to Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist, to
some of my favorite
Malala.
artists.
I always forget her name. Sorry, Malala. I should not forget her name. But yeah, Malala. And she does these amazing portraits of them where you don't see their face, but you recognize who they are almost instantly by how they're dressed or by their silhouette. So it's really cool.
Their brand.
Yeah, their brand. Their
Like my
visual
hair.
silhouette. Yeah, like your hair. It all comes back to your hair.
This is very poetic.
Oh,
It is.
sorry. I've totally just taken the limelight yet
He
again.
was making a lovely point about significant women in history. You're a significant woman in history.
Yes,
How
you
dare
are.
I? It all comes full circle.
And another thing I would suggest people go check out on Al Sarkal Avenue is one of my favorite spots there. It's called Zura. It's a bookstore that focuses on first edition books. that are not super, 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 super rare, like meaning that you can buy them and they're accessible to buy. But Alex Warren, who is the founder of the Zura, he knows all about books and first editions, and he collects great books from the region. So like stuff like some of the earliest books written about the UAE, written about the history of Dubai, to like a first edition Harry Potter and a Shakespeare volume from the 1800s.
Okay, man.
That
be
doesn't sound
honest.
particularly accessible.
It sounds to me. How often do you go into this place?
Oh, I mean,
do you live there?
Yeah, I'm there like at least once a week, like, just chilling with Alex talking books,
Oh,
He's
insight into your life.
It is
you
really.
love books more than anyone I know.
I've basically forced him to be my friend, and like the guy
Does
who
he
owns
know
the bookstore.
he's your friend?
Yeah,
I
he's like,
feel
oh,
that
this
he
guy
knows.
again.
There's a warmth.
What else is happening in Dubai? Al Sakala Avenue also have this really, really great initiative art show that they have launched. They've just released today. It's called On This Land. It's happening in a massive space in Al Sakala Avenue called Concrete. So On This Land is an exhibition which is a sort of a reaction to what's happening right now in Gaza. And they have, they're doing a collaboration with the Palestinian Museum and the Dirwaza Art Foundation and Al Sakal Advisory. And so basically, it's an exhibition that's going to be lasting until the end of November. It's on from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And it is a combination of archival images of Palestine that have been printed and enlarged, as well as paintings and sculptures by Palestinian artists from over the last, couple of decades from the Dirwaza Art Foundation. So you can go in there
So
and
important.
Yeah, so important. And you can go in there and get a real feel of the scope and the diversity of Palestinian art and what Palestinian artists have been concerned about over the past couple of decades. So it's a really great immersive way to get yourself
I think on this episode we've spoken so much about how, art is a reflection upon, art and culture can be such a reflection upon what's going on in the world. Like historically, we look back at it, and at the moment, we're looking towards it as well to offer us a space to have,
Express and try to heal as well.
And make sense of it, and make sense of what's happening, what's happened, and to also archive these really important artists and these important stories in a way.
When people have no control over what's happening outside, and one thing you have control over is the art that you're producing. There is a healing element in that's so important for creatives, and then for people to be able to go in and appreciate and understand those spaces.
And I just want to also add actually to that's why I think the UAE and why I'm so always excited to be writing about this stuff in the UAE, because the UAE, whether it's Abu Dhabi, Sharjah or Dubai, really offers a space for Arab artists. Unfortunately, our region has seen a lot of conflict over the, past 50 years. And so it really offers a space for these artists, whether you're from Palestine, Libya, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, to come here and create artwork that is reflective of what's happening over the past 50 years and also archiving these stories. So it's really great for people who live here who don't know much about the art scene or the history. And art is a really great vehicle for you to learn about what's happened here and to, again, understand the stories of the region.
I think me, growing up in the UK, most of the time it was so rare to find an Arab artist was given the space. And now I see so many spaces where Arab artists are given that space to tell stories that really do reflect personally to me and my history. Yeah, so it's really important. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Always
for
happy to
coming
be
in.
here.
So that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for listening, and we promise we'll have lots of stories for you next week.
And if you like this episode, please like and follow on your favourite podcasting app. Bye.